Yo YouTube, Zenit here from Neanderthal Fitness, www.neanderthalfit.com, and I'm a personal trainer, fitness instructor, general YouTube guru in the fitness community, coming at you. So today what I've got for you is a bit of a science lesson. I was thinking the other day about the correlation between muscle size and muscle strength, and although it's a reasonable assumption that most people make that a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, it occurred to me not everyone knows why. So what I'm going to do is later on in the video I'll speak to you about the strength continuum, which I bet your bottom dollar most of you have heard about recently with the big turn towards powerlifting and away from bodybuilding. You've probably heard that term banded around, so we'll explore that. But first and foremost I want to go into how a muscle contraction happens, so that you know, then if anyone asks you, you can tell them, and also you'll just be a general badass for knowing this, so then you'll be able to explain why a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle rather than just making the assumption. So there are two parts of a muscle we're interested in for this explanation: myosin and actin, the two contractile proteins of a muscle. Now essentially the one, and I forget which way around it is, so I do apologize, but the one looks kind of like a double-headed golf club, the other is like a line with holes in it. So essentially the double-headed golf club attaches to the holes, and then the muscle contracts from there. So the two are separate, and then when you contract they come together and all this shit kicks off. So let's explain it by showing you my bicep. When the muscle is like this, long and extended, the actin and the myosin are separate but in very close proximity, and then when I want to contract the muscle, the myosin attaches to the actin and pulls it all in one direction. So you've heard that muscles only pull, they don't push. So this is why everything gets bunched up. This is why the muscle becomes bigger and thicker, yet shorter. So everything gets pulled in one direction towards the origin of the muscle. Now it's this action of the two proteins coming together and pulling that generates the force. So any muscle contraction, whether that's picking up a pencil, picking up a dumbbell, doing a deadlift, overhead press, whatever, the proteins always act in this way, and they always produce force in that way. So the two muscle fibers, or two types of contractile protein in the muscle fiber, come together, pull, it shortens everything, but they don't all act as one. There's what we call the all or none principle, which essentially means a muscle fiber cannot partly contract. It contracts to its full potential every time it contracts, which is why for bodybuilding we do multiple sets of multiple exercises, because you'll use one set of muscle fibers for the first 10 contractions, and then when they're exhausted, they have no more, you'll move on and use different muscle fibers, more and more, exhausting and damaging more parts of the muscle, leading to improved hypertrophy, growth of the muscle fibers. Now essentially what happens is that a muscle fiber gets battered by this exercise, something beyond the norm, and it goes, shit, I need to be bigger and stronger in order to deal with that properly the next time it comes along. It's essentially your body trying to save your life. It doesn't know you're going into the gym recreationally. It thinks you're fighting a bear or whatever it may be that you need those muscles for, running away from a saber-toothed tiger. So if you put it under that stress, the muscles improve, because it says, okay, we're going to experience this in life, so we have to make his body or her body ready to do this. So as I say, they contract on an all or none basis. So to pick up a pencil you might use one or two, to pick up a 50-pound dumbbell you might use 30, 40 or more. Now the reason that a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle is hypertrophy. So hypertrophy is when there are two different types of hypertrophy, but we're only interested in this case with myofibrillar hypertrophy. Myofibrils are the muscle fibers, myofibrillar hypertrophy is the growth of those muscle fibers. So you put it under the stress, the exertion of the exercise, it's barely strong enough to finish it, and you're training close to failure, so it goes, shit, I need to be stronger. So then all the protein you eat and the calories you take in makes that muscle fiber marginally thicker. On the microscopic level, it takes a long time to see a noticeable size difference in the muscle, but what is happening is those muscle fibers are becoming bigger. And if you just imagine, if you're going fishing with a, I might get this wrong because I'm not a big fisher, but say you're going with a 1 pound line and you try and catch a 10-pound fish, the line's going to snap, just like you wouldn't be able to lift the 100-pound dumbbell if you can only bicep curl 50-pound dumbbells. So rather than the line snapping, what happens here is the line partially snaps and then it grows back slightly thicker, so it will become a 2-pound line over time, a 3-pound line, 4-pound line, until you can handle those heavier poundages. So your body improves, it makes the muscle fibers thicker so that they can exert more force, because they're not going to be prone to ripping under the minimal exertion that you've put them under in the first place. And over years and years of training, you will build the muscle fibers up and up and up and up. And different people have different genetic potentials. So someone might have 500 muscle fibers in their biceps, someone might have 1,000. Obviously, the person with 1,000 muscle fibers has the potential to build a bigger bicep. As far as we know, with present science, there's been no proof that in humans, because it has been proven with a species of bird and potentially with other animals, but in humans there is no proof that you can increase the number of muscle fibers. So you're born with what you've got. They have a maximal size each that they can reach, and therefore that's your genetic ceiling for muscle size. But that's not important, that's not the feature of this video. The feature is explaining to you why, therefore, as the muscle fibers get bigger and stronger, each of them can exert more force, and because there's millions likely in a muscle, if 1,000,000 1-pound lines become 2-pound lines, you go from having 1,000,000 pound to a 2,000,000 pound. So although each one is such a microscopic level, all bunched together, it makes a big difference. Now, I do want to mention the strength continuum, and that, strictly speaking, hypertrophy is not the only way to increase strength. You are correct. The strength continuum is basically a bell curve that says that at the top, at the biggest part of the bell, you have the hypertrophy range. 8 to 12 repetitions, 3 to 5 sets, 80% of your 1 rep max roughly is going to have the biggest crossover of building muscle size, so hypertrophy of those myofibrils, and potentially also sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, but that is a subject for a separate video. So the biggest impulse on muscle size. Then at the other end you have really heavy weights, low reps, has the biggest crossover to strength, less to hypertrophy and endurance. The other side you have endurance, which is you're doing loads of repetitions with a light weight, and that increases the capillaries and the blood flow into the muscle, and the muscle's ability to generate energy over and over and over really quickly, but doesn't really increase the size or the strength very much. Now, 8 to 12 repetitions, 3 to 5 sets is what you want for hypertrophy, and I've just told you that hypertrophy will make your muscles stronger. So you may be asking, why the fuck would I train in the strength side of the strength continuum where I'm not going to build much muscle? How is that going to make me stronger? Because strength is fundamentally an action of the nervous system as opposed to the muscles. The muscles translate your strength into your body's ability to make action in the world, but the strength is actually coming from the impulse from your mind. So if you lift a 10-pound weight, you'll use maybe 10-20 muscle fibers, and your body knows it can use 10-20 muscle fibers to lift that weight time and again, and if you increase it slightly, they get bigger, so it uses the same number of muscle fibers. Now if you present it with a weight that is like 100% of what it can lift, 100% means it has to throw everything it has, so it uses the maximum number of muscle fibers at once, and in order to get stronger, it teaches you to recruit more muscle fibers. So you can stay the same weight, the same size, and by repetitively doing a motion at close to 100% of your maximal strength, then you will be able to recruit more muscle fibers at one time, rather than 20 at one time, or 50 or 100 or 1,000, whatever it may be. So although the muscle fibers are not really getting bigger and stronger, you're recruiting more what we call motor units. So the number of muscle fibers you can fire at any one time for any one single lift movement is increased, and that means you can exert 100% of the strength from the size muscle that you have now. So it's good to train in both fields, because you want to increase the amount of muscle fiber activation you get from strength training, but you do want to increase the size of the muscles, because it increases the amount of energy that you can put through. that you can actually put through that muscle. So there you have it, brief explanation of how muscle contractions work and the strength continuum and its relation to hypertrophy. So hope you found that interesting. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you want to subscribe, hopefully both. Loads of other videos, I try to do one a week. If it gets more popular, that's probably just going to increase. If you want to contact me, ask me any questions, message me, comments, I always try and reply. Peace out, people. Enjoy your day.